Hello, this is Samri from Chopsticks and Fork Please, formerly known as Lines Between the Stars. So, hopefully the sound is okay. So I'm just gonna use this podcast. Sam might join in the future, but I'll also use this podcast to as a audio diary of sorts, talking about esoterics, social issues, I guess life updates and all that stuff. So recently we went on a cruise for my brother's birthday, and I have some notes. So it was a cruise that we took from Vancouver, BC, Canada. It went to Alaska, multiple cities in Alaska. We visited glaciers and national parks. A few sea days where there's no, you don't dock at a port. So let's see. So I'll just go through my pictures so I could remember. I recorded a lot of videos, which is nice. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. So we took off from Vancouver, BC. We got to Vancouver by train in the morning. And usually, so we took the train, the Amtrak, because it's the most picturesque and it's nicer, than taking a flight or having to deal with, parking your car somewhere. It's cheaper and there's views if you, sit at the right side of the correct side of the train. It's nice. Let's see. So we got there around noon, even though the train was scheduled to arrive at Vancouver at 11. There's always going to be delays. That's what I noticed about the train or Amtrak specifically. Not sure why, but at least for one, we're crossing the border into Canada, and then when we came back we also took the train, but you have to stop, and then the border patrol people. So when we were coming back into the US, CBP, border customs and border patrol people came in and looked at our passports at the border after we took off from Vancouver. And then when we went into Vancouver, I noticed you just have to line up and go through. They have their own CBP at the train station. I guess, yeah, they look at your passports more carefully versus when you go into the US, they just glance at your passport, which I don't know. But yeah, it helps me avoid. I tend to have negative experiences with TSA, because whenever I have natural hair and they would the machine, I guess, shows them something that's squeeze the scalp of this black person's hair, and then they would have to go through my hair, and I don't like that. And then another negative experience I've had, driving through the Canadian border is they would, like, during the pandemic, we went there for our honeymoon, and they gave me a quote-unquote randomized COVID test, a rapid test that I have to, like, use time, go out of my way to, like, take this test. There's this video interview they do with you, and then you submit your whatever nose swabs at a pharmacy in Canada. In any case, I don't know if they're still having Black people go through it, because it wasn't just me that went through it. Sam's coworkers who are Black, when they traveled by car, they also got the randomized quote-unquote rapid test at the border. So they just target Black people to give us COVID tests at the Canadian border. So something to think about. A way to avoid that is to take the train. Anyways, so that was the first day. We got into our room, found out it's right next to my brother's and his fiance's room on the cruise, which was really interesting and a coincidence. Let's see. And then I recorded some stuff, and I was really seasick. I lost my appetite for 2 days, so like we took off on like in the evening, and then that whole night, and then got up, and then it was sea day. We were at sea, and all you could see is just the ocean. But thankfully this time, so it's my second time on a cruise. The first time was with my dad and brother, and we stayed in this cabin. I picked the top twin bed. There was like what is it called, a bunk bed situation, where there's like a top bed and a bottom bed. My brother was at the bottom bed, and the room doesn't have any doors or windows to look out from, so it was like all walls. You don't know if it's night or day. You don't see the horizon. It could help with seasickness that way. And then I put on the patches. I got patches ahead of time, but apparently you're supposed to wear it like a day before you get on the ship to prevent seasickness. So in any case, I put on those patches. I also took the motion sickness pills. It still didn't help for the next day at the sea. The first port we got to was Ketchikan, Alaska, and it's a really cloudy city, very a lot of evergreen trees, and my seasickness went away because I stepped on land and looked at nature, like the trees closer, and walked around a lot as well. And I also had good food at Ketchikan. They catch fish fresh the same day and they cook it. It's really good. I also went to this store with a nice lady selling stuff. We bought like a beanie that has LED lights like in the beanie itself, and it's USB rechargeable light, which is pretty cool. planning on using that. I bought that as a gift for Sam because we can use it as something to wear while walking the puppy that Sam's gonna get soon. It's a doodle mix puppy, and we also did we allowed folks in our social media to vote over a name, Worf or Ducat, and 75% chose Worf, so the dog is gonna be called Worf. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because like Worf is like woof. Let's see what else. So Ketchikan also got a long sleeved t-shirt. So in the ship they have free washer and dryer set, and it's pretty smart. Like the washer is smart because like it weighs the clothes you put in it, and then that determines how long the wash is gonna be. Even if you select quick wash, it's not gonna be at a set time. It like would weigh it and like give you the percentage time that's left, or like the percentage cleanliness that it has. So basically when it gets to 0%, the clothes would be ready to put in the dryer or to hang up. And the dryer is also pretty similar. I feel like it has sensors that detect moisture, and it'll tell you the same, like the percentage dryness, or maybe minutes, but yeah, it has pretty good technology. As far as the stewards on your floor, I think they're like assigned to 10 rooms or 20 rooms, and they clean your room at least 3 times a day. And it's basically like let's see, like when you stay at a hotel, they clean your room, but it tends to be only once a day. But on a cruise it'll be 3 times or more, at least on the cruise line we were on, which is Cunard, which is a British cruise line. Speaking of British, most of the passengers were European, Western European to be specific, and then the next populace demographic was East Asian. I think it's because it's Vancouver, BC, and people didn't expect Americans to be on the ship, apparently, like because the ship takes off from Vancouver, BC, Canada, but there's another ship, I believe, that takes off from Seattle as well. So there was one woman, I started talking to her, and she was like, yeah, I'm from Vancouver, and she was surprised that I didn't take the ship from Seattle. Yeah, she was surprised that we would go out of our way to travel to Canada to take a cruise. So anyways, Ketchikan, there was this woman, she was walking by. We overheard her speaking with what we presumed to be her son, and she put her phone on speaker, so like she was walking past us, and he was like, please, for the love of God, don't buy me another t-shirt. And we just like busted out laughing after like a few walks away. You know, we don't want to laugh in her face. But yeah, then I went on to buy that long sleeve t-shirt at the store, so that was funny. Ketchikan, and then I believe it was maybe the next day was Sea Day. But yeah, after Ketchikan, my appetite came back. I wasn't seasick or nauseated the whole time, so it helped to get on land. At Ketchikan, we had fish and chips, which was really good, and then I got a bunch of herbal tea because all the herbal tea would be gone by the time I went to the buffet area where you can like fill. So I also brought a thermos that you can put hot water in. You could also put cold water in it, but I'm glad I brought that because you can, just put water in it and just drink it while you're traveling. And I had the herbal tea. I would just put hot water in it. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure what that noise was. Okay. Ketchikan, then the second city we went to was Sitka, Alaska, and apparently Sitka is where the Russians settled when they started to colonize Alaska. And the way the Russians did it, they made a deal that they honored with the First Nation or Native American population in Alaska, in Sitka to be specific, and there was this separate class of people that were a mix of Russian and Native American people, and apparently that's like they were like a higher class because they were the intermediary between the Russians and the First Nation folks there, and they had like positions and jobs, versus when America came in to buy the land from Alaska, they basically did what American or Western European colonizers do, is just assimilate the people, get rid of their culture and language, their identity. Like they started they would take the kids, the Native American or First Nation kids, and they would like try to convert them to Christianity, and they would teach them English and cut their hair. They basically like decimated their culture. So I learned all this by I went to a museum, and then looked at all how they would build their houses. It's a whole thing, and how they build totem poles and stuff. That's where we have footage from there. It's pretty interesting how the Sitka people recorded history through totem poles. At the bottom is the past, and then when you go up the totem pole, it tells the story of what happened more recently. Sitka was also cloudy, but it was really nice kind of city because they have a lot of historical buildings you can visit, and and learn about the history there. And the house, like, there's no big buildings. And I've noticed how my mood would change based on how tall the buildings are, or like the architecture is interesting too. And then after Sitka, let's see, what else did we do in Sitka? That's where we spotted the bald eagle. A lot of people were fascinated with it. Bald eagles, I've spotted bald eagles like in Seattle, so it's not super big deal for me. So and also at Sitka is where, excuse me, I had to get a sip of tea. So there was this white woman who was at the front of the museum in Sitka, and she was like talking to people about like Jesus and, oh, pray for us so we don't get, attacked by Russia. Like, apparently they're scared that Russia is going to invade Alaska, and Sitka is pretty north. Let's see, I'll have to look it up on the map, but yeah, I'm not really sure why she was nervous. Because I don't think Russia would want to invade America, because America has a lot of money in its military budget. Let's see, Sitka. Alaska. Okay. Looks like it's an island. Yeah, it's not super close to Russia. I mean, if anything, I'd be worried for people who are like in the island in St. Lawrence Island. And the closest place is Wales, Alaska. Whichever city that Sarah Palin looks out on her window and sees Alaska at. In any case, yeah, I don't like it when people, solicit their religion in like you're not expecting it to happen. Like, it's something different if you purposefully go to a church or a mosque, temple, to talk about religion. But yeah, I just don't get people who do that. But in any case, after Sitka, let's see, I think it was another sea day or 2 more sea days. Then we went to Juneau, Alaska, and that was an interesting city. So I noticed that there's a bunch of like, I saw more black women than black men, but there's black people in general in Juneau, and they seem happy. Yeah, so if you want to go to a place where you can see other black people, then go to Juneau. And then what's next? After Juneau, I think it was like before Juneau. Yeah, it was in Ketchikan actually, where this thing happened with my brother and his fiance. I shared a bit about it in the live I did with where I was showing YouTube the garden that my father-in-law takes care of, and I also take care of it. But so to go back to the main story, my brother was like, he was excited. We met up for lunch and he's like, oh, let me tell you this story. It's so funny, right? And he tells the story of how him and his guy friend on the ship, there's like karaoke nights. Apparently there's like, the day is packed with activities in any case. So they would go to karaoke and they would sing together, and they were for that specific story he was telling, they were singing the song by Adele, the one that's like, hello, it's me, na, 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 na. Wait, it's either that one or anyways, it's hello, it's a hello song, okay? And they were like lovingly looking into each other's eyes, and then so my brother noticed how there were like a bunch of middle-aged black women were like cheering happily while my brother was singing by himself, but then they stopped cheering once he started singing with his guy friend. And his guy friend is a white man. And then the next day was when we landed at Ketchikan, and my brother was just walking, and then his fiance was nearby, and then they held hands and kissed. And then apparently there was a black woman who like ran across the street. She spotted them, ran across the street, and she's like, wait, you guys are together? And she's like, oh, thank God. We didn't lose. I thought, we were afraid that we would lose you too. And then she like texts in a chat group is what he was describing it as. Like, apparently they like were talking about him in their chat group, which was, it's creepy because they're like way older than him. In any case, yeah, so he told that story and everyone was laughing. I remember that. I was like, oh my gosh, the obsession from black women towards black men, it's too much. Because you have to like also consider that it's really creepy to get that kind of attention from strangers, especially. So basically, black women's obsession is not an insider thing. Everybody knows. They tell stories of how usually like black men would like make fun of black women who are obsessed with them, and they tell stories about you guys to their friends, to their non-black friends, and they laugh. Okay? In any case, and yeah, so after Juneau, actually before we move on from Juneau, we went hiking, and that's where we all did mountain climbing. It was really scary. It was really steep climb up, where you basically like have to hold on to, rocks. Oh my gosh. It wasn't like a straight, like super high thing, but it was really steep, so it was kind of hard to get up. And there were multiple moments where I almost gave up, and I'm like, okay, I'll just stop here. Let me not drag you down, guys. I'll just go back or wait for you. And then my brother's like, no, in life, you cannot just give up and just turn around just because things start to get hard. So he basically dragged me up the mountain. It was really nice at the top because we got really close to a glacier that was receding. But yeah, we got really close to like where they wouldn't allow people to cross that point. And you can see how the land is transformed by this receding piece of ice, right? Because the closer you get to the glacier, it gets colder, and the trees are shorter and younger, and you get to see like bare stone and how it's been shaped by the melting water is really interesting. But yeah, I slipped and fell at least twice. I hit my thigh on a broken branch, and that was painful. It left a mark. But yeah, I have whole footage from there I got from my brother and Sam. And then I'll put it up on YouTube, on Samri Bliss YouTube channel. So we got down back from the mountain. And also another tip, if you're on vacation and you're like doing physically strenuous activities, make sure to bring protein powder, or either that or like, I don't know, maybe if you're flying to a place then you can't bring liquids, or maybe even powders. But yeah, just like put it in a bag that you can check into the plane. Just like bring some protein powder with you, because I was pretty sore the next day. Like, I can still walk. Well, actually, no. It took me I was really sore, so I couldn't walk properly for a day or two. So yeah, get protein. So my brother's friend had rented a car, and it was nice because like we could go to all these different hiking spots. And then let's see, after the hike in Juneau, we had seafood. That was great as well. And in Juneau they also had this like fashion show, or like it was like a beauty week or fashion week there. And I also noticed in Juneau there's a sizable Filipino population, and they have there's a historical building where Filipino Americans created a community center, and there's a whole organization there. And there's pretty good Filipino food. And my brother's fiance is Filipina, so I've had Filipino food. It's pretty good. I love the fish dish because I'm a pescatarian. And okay, let's see. After Juneau, might have been a sea day. Then we went to Skagway. Skagway. That's also another American Alaskan city. And so in Skagway, Skagway has a lot of gold rush history associated with it, because it was near Skagway that there's a whole story also of I think I should have like another episode where I discuss this, but it was really interesting. So basically, the guy who first discovered a lot of gold in the rivers was half white, half I forget the name of the people, but they're all another Native American tribe there. And so he set up a foundation for the kids at his tribe, at his mom's tribe, would get college education. Like, basically all the money he has in his trust pays for a full ride for all the kids in his mother's tribe, because he valued education. So in Skagway, we learned a lot about the gold rush and Canadian and American relations, because you have to cross the border into Canada to get to the area that Jesse from Breaking Bad escaped to, or like when he changed his identity. But yeah, you can, I guess, spot bears and mountain goats there, like brown bears and black bears. We also learned a bit about bears as well. So Skagway is a pretty small city. You have to pay. So internet is expensive because you pay by how much you use, apparently, or like how many minutes. Something internet access is low, something. But there's only one bank in the city, only one high school. Well, actually, it's a whole grade school, like from kindergarten up to 12th grade. Is just like one school. So that's Skagway. I bought sweaters at a store in Skagway where it has like an image on the fluffy side of the sweater, which was pretty aesthetically cool. And anyways, let's see. After Skagway, I believe that's where we had Sea Day, and then we went to Glacier Bay, where it's a protected park, and I saw a lot of sea otters. It was so cool. There were, like in the distance, what I assume are whales or orcas. But yeah, you could see, and that's also another thing. If you're going on the Alaskan cruise, bring binoculars, okay? Because it'll allow you to see different creatures. Oh, and also get like the add-on to your cameras, your professional cameras, so that you can like take really zoomed in, clear, crisp pictures from far away. I wish we got those two things. And also get a lot of sunscreen as well. so after, or like during the Glacier Bay Day, I think, I that's where I got my facial from a South African black woman, and she was really good at explaining how to take care of your skin. So I'll also do another video about that. I should note that in my notes. So after, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, I had it in my notes already. Okay. So after Glacier Bay, I think it was another sea day. Then we got to Victoria, BC, the island of Vancouver. There's a city at the southernmost tip of that island called Victoria, and there you can do a lot of shopping. It's really beautiful, like the downtown area. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. A lot of like British history, or not history, but like architecture, and they have also like Native American art stores, modern looking stores with Native American arts and all that stuff. And the food is good too. We went to Chinatown in Victoria, and I was expecting like to eat food, like Asian food made in an Asian restaurant with like Asian cooks and servers, but we ended up going to a dumpling, or what is it? Yeah, dumpling place, and it was owned and operated by white people, and I'm like, what? and like it seems like all the Asian restaurants are owned by white people there. And the Asian folks are more into the traditional medicine, acupuncture kind of stores. And also in Victoria, there's a lot of smokers, just like cigarettes at every corner. Compared to the US, where you might see one person smoke. At least in like downtown Seattle. Let's see. Yeah, Victoria was beautiful. That's where we went to the miniature museum. And I'm not sure what else. Sam got some kitchen supplies from a kitchen supply store in Victoria. It's a pretty walkable city too. We got bubble tea there from Royal Tea. And they seem, well, actually, okay. So there's a store on the cruise, and all they sell is like British stuff. And that's what the Royal Tea bubble tea place reminded me of, how British the ship was. And if you buy something from the store, which is only open on sea days, you can buy stuff without tax because they're in the sea. Like, you're not on land, so you don't need to pay taxes. And I thought that was a beautiful, interesting loophole. Okay, let's see, what other stuff did we do? Victoria. So in when you get to Victoria, you also have to take, well, you don't have to. Like, when we got to Sitka, we also took a shuttle into the city in Sitka, you do have to take that shuttle because you can't really walk from the port to the city without having to go through like streets with no pedestrian walkways. So yeah, in Victoria there's a long line for the shuttles because there's one double decker for 2 ships, or maybe even more ships that dock in that bay. So it's gonna be really busy. So you'll be standing in a line if you don't get up or get ready in time to just dock right after you, or like to catch the shuttle right after the ship docks to the city. So the computer battery is about to die, so I will pause this here and continue it after I plug in the computer. Okay, continuing on from what I was describing in the what we did in the cruise. I had, so when I was on my way to Vancouver from Seattle, I got a call from a recruiter at a job site that I really wanted to get into, and I realized we're getting closer and closer to the US-Canada border, and I was like, okay, I'll be getting back in 10 days, and she's like, oh, well, the Zoom interviews are tomorrow and the day after, and I would be at sea at that time, and there's really no internet connection in the middle of the ocean. Even if you buy the Wi-Fi service deal on a cruise for like more than $200, it still wouldn't be a good enough connection for a Zoom, like a video call. In any case, so I made a connection, but I also lost an opportunity to work where I wanted to work as well. So that's also the downside, I guess, of, you know, like vacationing out of internet range, or cruising is, if you're looking for a job and if you're interviewing, then you'll have to put all those opportunities on hold. And so me and Sam visited a public library in Vancouver, BC, and I was able to take pictures of books that looked interesting because in different cities you can notice the topics that the city wants to focus on, or the librarians put into focus by, like, you know, like the first shelf that's in display in the library, you know, it might focus on different things based on the themes of the month in the city or the country that you're visiting the library of. And in Vancouver, BC, they had they had mystery writers who are Canadian, and you would only see those kinds of books displayed in Canada, so that was really interesting. I took pictures of these titles: Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, and it says the essential translation of the ancient Chinese book of the Tao. It seemed like a spiritual, philosophical kind of book. And then there's another one called Honoring the Wild, Reclaiming Witchcraft and Environmental Activism by Irisanya Moon. And then there's The Square and the Tower, Networks and Power from the Freemasons to Facebook by Neil Ferguson. So yeah, those I will check out those books. Hopefully they'll be available in Seattle. Let's see. Yeah, so that part was really fascinating because the public library in Vancouver, BC, is across the street from my favorite izakaya Japanese restaurant called King Yo. So yeah, I will have this recording with the pictures and the videos of our trip. My brother also sent me videos and pictures from the mountain climbing that we did. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, and look forward to more of me talking about, the latest and greatest things in my life. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, subscribe. Bye.